Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Tittle Tattle Tarot. It's Georgie. And on today's reading, I'm going to be using the Shadowlands Tarot. This is a little bit of a delicate subject. I'm going to look at Diana and her eating disorders. Now, when I look at this, I do have experience of this. I have experience of anorexia and bulimia. So I do understand the topic very deeply. So I hope that the sympathy that I have for this comes through in this reading. You don't need to know about my personal, battle with that, but, just to know that I do have experience of it, and I don't treat it lightly at all. So what I do want to know is how much it affected her life, her marriage, and maybe even Harry. I don't know whether we'll get to that, but we shall see what the cards tell us. I have never read any books on Diana. All I know about Diana is what I witnessed while she was alive and in the papers. I haven't read Lady Colin Campbell's book on her or anybody else's book. So this would just purely be judging what the cards tell me. And I would like to point out now, this is purely a tarot reading. The tarot will show cards to me and I will interpret them and weave them together into a story for entertainment for you. So yes, we're looking at Diana's eating disorders. There were certain pictures in the press of her incredibly thin. I don't know whether she was actually anorexic then, but she was certainly, if not, she was bordering on it. But I think more than likely she was bulimic for most of her marriage, if not all of it. And I just want to find out from the cards, get some energy on this, on the impact of this on her life. So as I say, I do this with the utmost sympathy and having had both of these myself, so I do understand the diseases. Okay, so let's start off just asking Shadowlands Tarot just to give us an overall view of what Diana felt about her eating disorders. What did she feel about having these eating disorders? Shadowlands Tarot, just show me whatever cards are relevant to what Diana felt about these eating disorders. I'm going to pull 4 cards. Okay. So what her feelings were, I think she worked very hard to try and overcome it. I think like every day it was a new battle, right? I'm not going to do this today. I'm going to, work really hard on not falling into this pattern again. And every day she was working on it. But unfortunately, it's one of those things that it doesn't matter how hard you work on it, it just overtakes you, and the urge and the compassion and the compulsion to do it overtakes you. But I think she worked incredibly hard. This 8 of Pentacles is the work card. It really is toiling at something, and I think that she battled with this, really tried to overcome it. The King of Cups in reverse, unfortunately, Charles didn't understand at all. The King of Cups, the right way up, this would be your partner that gives you all the emotional support that you need, is 100% behind you, fully understands what you're going through. And it is hard. It's the most, I think it's one of the hardest things to understand, how somebody can do that, can eat and then purge. How is that possible? Why do people do that? And I think especially, I don't it sounds bad from a male's point of view, but I think men find it harder than women to understand, although men do suffer from this as well. But I think with Charles, he couldn't understand it at all. He'd never, I mean, we're talking about the 80s. It wasn't as known as it is now. And I think that it was just beyond him, and so his compassion wasn't really there, because it was just such an alien thing. It had never been in his world. So she was dealing with this, trying to fight this, and had a husband that didn't understand it. And I'm not blaming Charles at all. I think, a lot of people would find it very hard to understand. And it was the tower, it was just a disaster. This thing would have been on her mind day and night, just trying to work at it to overcome it. But just, it was all too big to overcome, and too big in her life. And it was just destroying her body. I have said to you before, with this tower, the tower is like, your physical body. And something like bulimia. I'm going to stick with bulimia because I think she was more on that scale of things than anorexia. So it's incredibly harsh on your body. The purging, it's so destructive on every part of your body. And so mentally she would have felt it, but also, physically in her body. You can't be in the throes of bulimia and not have physical repercussions from it. So this was a terrible tower moment. And it wasn't just one moment, it just was ongoing. It was something that she was living with. So it's like having your tower moment repeated on repeat, repeat. And of course, again, because the King of Cups was not emotionally there for her, we have that sort of twos of the union. It doesn't have to be lovers, but just that union of two people that are on the same page. He couldn't understand it. She couldn't confide in him. So, this is no more or less than what we would expect, but it's just nice to see it clarified in the cards. So yeah, this is what she felt about her anorexia bulimia, I'm going to say, because I do think it was more that. So I want to know, we've sort of had a glimpse into Charles. So I would like to know what the royal family, collectively, now at that stage, it would have been the Queen and Prince Philip. Certainly Charles, we have some of his energy here, what he felt about it. But there would also have been Sarah Ferguson was there at the time as well. So she would have been privy to this, I would imagine, because these girls had known each other long before they both married into the royal family. So I'm just trying to get an idea for the close people around her in the royal family, what their view of all this was. So let's just see. What was her royal family, not her own family at the moment, just the royal family, what was their view of this thing that she was doing? Okay. I'm going to pull 4 again. Okay, I think, again, they didn't understand. When you're talking about the 80s, it was a very, very different world to now. I personally had this through the 70s and 80s. So, the treatment wasn't there, the understanding wasn't there. So you must remember that as I'm doing this reading. They saw it, the star, as an attention thing. I'm really sad to see that, but they saw it as a way of her getting attention. And really, it's far from that. It's far from that. Somebody with this is not seeking attention. They're seeking to hide. They don't want the attention on themselves. But this is what they saw. They saw it as a drama queen, wanting all the attention on themselves. The star can also be a healing position and a loving position, but with the other cards that are in this, I just think the star is meaning it in its sense of wanting the light to shine on you, wanting to be in the spotlight. So they saw it primarily as an attention-grabbing thing, this eating disorder. And temperance in reverse, well, I think that a lot of their response would have been, you must control yourself. And saying that to somebody who is in the throes of an eating disorder it's so unhelpful. But they wouldn't have understood. It would have been equivalent to saying, pull yourself together, you know. And she was trying so hard. She was, oh God, I'm getting quite upset. She was trying so hard with the Eight of Pentacles to come over this, to overcome it. And basically, they just saw it as weakness of character. You know, if you were strong in your character, you wouldn't need to indulge and then have to purge. And, you know, there'd be no need for this. If you were stronger in your character, you're weak and you're addicted to you're addicted to intake and then trying to purge yourself. So they would have seen it as that, not strong character. And I think that it did lead to them being very worried about her, and rightly so. So they should have been, but they didn't know how to help her. So it was very much Nine of Swords. And I think Nine of Swords is staying awake at night. But I also think, you know, it wasn't really spoken about. It's things that it's on their minds, but they, apart from sort of saying, oh, you know, pull yourself together, you've got so much, they probably came up with something like that, but they kept it, look how big this is, on their minds, but they didn't really sit down and properly vocalize it to her. So I think there was a lot of worry about her, an awful lot of worry about her, but they're very buttoned up, and they didn't communicate that worry to her in a way that was helpful. They didn't mean to do that, but it's just what happened. It was just, you know, come on, pull yourself together. You're being a drama queen here. There's nothing wrong. That kind of attitude. And then we have the Five of Cups, and they just couldn't understand it, because it seemed like she has so much. She's married into this royal family. With the Five of Cups, usually you've got a couple of cups that are standing up behind you, and you know you've got good things in your life, but you're concentrating on all the spilt stuff. And this is what this creature here is doing with the big feet, just looking at what's all gone wrong here. And I think they were thinking, you know, this, why is she doing this to herself? Why is she in this depression when, you know, she's got all the money she could want, all the security she could want, all the clothes, all the attention from the press? Why is she focusing on this? So I think that gives us quite a clear view of, you know, what she felt about it and what the royal family felt about it. Now, it's been said that because of the way she was eating or not eating, or the way she was purging, that this could well have had an effect on Harry. I think with William, their marriage was more stable. It was at the beginning of their marriage, and I don't think that she was, she may have still been doing it, but not to the extent. I think by the time Harry came along and the marriage was in trouble, her eating disorder was probably out of control to some extent. And when you think of when you purge, you know, you lose so many minerals, you lose so many vitamins, so much goodness from your body. And, you know, of course, that will, in some way, it will reflect on the fetus. So with the utmost respect, I just want to see how this could have affected Harry. So this is all tarot reading, and you know, as I say, I do this very respectfully. Okay, just going to pull a few for Harry. I think during the pregnancy, sorry, you can just about see this. Let me just move everything up. I think that during her pregnancy, she didn't have a really close network of people around her. She didn't feel that she had. I don't think that there were many people that she could confide in. I'm sure she had people around her, but the Three of Pentacles is very much teamwork, and I think that if she'd had people that she really felt confident in confiding in, I think her pregnancy, the eating disorder, could have been handled, um, in a better way for her. But I get the feeling with this that she kept things very close to her. If you can see this one, and I'm beginning to feel with this card, for me, although it's often said the greedy miser, and yes, I can see that, but in so much in my readings at the moment, I'm seeing this as hanging on to your secrets, being so frightened to let go of your secrets. And I think even the people closest to her, there were one or two that she might have told, but she needed more support. And I think this is coming out here, especially during, that second pregnancy. She needed more support, and she had things that were going on in her life that she kept very quiet and very, very much to herself. And so, it meant that her choices were very limited. I mean, seven of cups, you say, oh, well, you've got so many choices and you can do whatever you want, you can do anything that you want, but she couldn't. Her choices were very limited. So she was very confined in how she handled the pregnancy. She just wasn't able to open up to a lot of people. And I think that if she'd been able to choose different therapies, or choose different ways to talk to therapists or people that would help her, that would have been a tremendous healing for her. It would have helped her a great deal. But I think that she didn't have that. She didn't have that big choice of how to handle this bulimia. So ultimately it meant that she was on her own. This is very much, you see this gorilla here looking at the everything that's going on the island, and it's on its own. So I think she felt very much on her own. So this is all tells me about the pregnancy itself, how that went, but it doesn't really tell me about how Harry was affected by it. She didn't have much support around her, not real support that she could properly confide in. I think it was all very surface, and she didn't tell the people that were around her really what was going on. She held back. And because of that, it made everything very limited. She because she wouldn't open up, she couldn't choose an array of different therapies and find out which one would work for her. She was too closed in here, and it just meant for a very lonely experience, always trying to fight this work. But if she'd have opened up about it more, and let people in who could help her, rather than holding things to her, I think she would have had a better outcome with with the bulimia. So what about Prince Harry? How did it actually affect him? Or did it not? Maybe it didn't. Let's see what the cards say. This is all about Prince Harry. So on the top here, I think obviously great celebration when he was born. The second child for her and Charles, great celebration when he was born. The justice there, the injustice of it was that Charles was not 100%, up for a boy. I think he really wanted a girl, and I think she saw that as a great injustice, that Charles actually wanted a girl. And so it took this celebration, this is like, the let's raise a glass, let's be happy, let's celebrate this happening. So this was the birth. Charles was not as on board. He really wanted a girl, and so how unjust is that? And I just think that led her into the Two of Swords, which is, well, what can I do? What can I do? I've had a boy, a lovely boy, and what choice do I have now? Where do I go in my life, in my marriage? And I think this is when it all really started to fall apart for her. So Harry's been born. Did this bulimia affect his development? Let's just say that. Let's be very, very, very straight with the cards. I think they like it when you're totally straight. Did her bulimia affect his development, his mental development? Did her bulimia affect his mental development? Did Diana's bulimia affect his mental development? This wants to come out. Can you pull one more? Okay, we've got swords centered by an Ace of Cups. Yeah, I mean, the Knight of Swords, we're talking about him now, really. A page would be, a little boy. We've got the Knight of Swords. This is this angry energy. This is the unbalanced, the mentally unstable person. The Ace of Cups, the emotion that just has gone. There's no empathy with this man now. And the Ace of Swords, just really not knowing where to go in his life. So this is Harry as an adult. This is Harry as an adult. So I want to go right to the heart of things here. This is very much him now, isn't it? No emotional empathy. Knight of Swords being as cutting with his words as he can, and just really a lost man, not knowing where he's going. But that doesn't tell me about him as a little boy. So I'm going to go right to the center, the heart of the matter. Harry as a little boy. Okay. Harry as a little boy, heartbreak. He was just very, very hard to deal with, and it broke her heart. I think, when you're dealing with a child that is emotionally difficult and just shows a lot of signs of behavior that you're just so unfamiliar with. As I've said to you before, she was a nanny. She knew about children. She'd been around children, since a teenager. She'd looked after them, but she'd never come across a child quite like this. And it was heartbreaking for her. And she didn't know how to deal with him. And again, this is, your cups. This is another sort of cup in reverse. I think all of our cups here have been in reverse, haven't they? This is all so much heartbreak. I think, to be honest with you, she would like to have walked away. That's the walking away card, just leaving and walking away. Impossible. She couldn't walk away. And she didn't know how to deal with it. I think there's a much deeper read to do here. I only really intended to do how Diana felt about her eating disorders, how the royal family felt about them. But I think, I felt compelled to slide into how it affected Harry. I would like to come back to this and do a much, much deeper dive. If you would like me to, I appreciate it. It's a very delicate subject, and I hope that I handled this with compassion, let's say. And as I say, I do understand about this topic. But I just think that Prince Charles was not, I think he was fine with it, but you know how some fathers go, "Oh, oh, I really wanted a girl." But she was so emotional that I think that, she took that so deeply hurt by that, and Charles just sort of spoke just off the cuff, "Oh, it's a boy, I really wanted a girl," that kind of thing perhaps, and it just totally broke the camel's back, if you like. It was the last straw, and it led to that Two of Swords. What do I do now? I'm not invested in this marriage. I don't wanna be here. Her hormones would have been all over the place from the eating disorder, from her given birth. It should have been a time of celebration. And, as an adult, we've got Harry here. It went straight to Harry's adult energy. That the Knight of Swords, that cruel book, the cruelness with his words, just being quick, not thinking, doing things on the spur of the moment, quick, hard, cutting energy. Ace of Cup, no compassion for anyone. And the Eight of Swords, a lost person, not knowing what to do. Look how this creature is all bound and has got like a prison around him, made a prison for himself. And then, finally we just cut and we say, but what about him as a baby? What about him as a little boy? Just heartbreaking, so hard to get through to, hard to love. That that actually, and that makes me incredibly upset. And I think that is so true. Very hard to love. And, just feeling like if I could walk away from this, I would. And of course she did. She did later walk away from it. But she loved her boys. She loved her boys. But, it's really all coloured by this bulimia. And I hope that you got something out of that. And I hope you're not upset with me for going into this realm, because as I say, I did it because it's a subject that is very, very close to my heart. And well, I shall leave it with you. And if you would like me to go deeper into this situation about the eating disorder and how it affected Harry, then let me know and I will try and do a deeper read on it. Thank you very much. Bye bye.